awaited him in Enter the Dragon, avenging his sister's death.
On a mysterious island in the South China Sea, there is a fortress without walls, protected by an invincible army that needs no ordinary weapons. Welcome to the island of Han.
I gather you still don't have enough to bust up his operation.
We know everything. We can prove nothing. We want you to go in there as our agent.
His job was to get them out, alive.
The demands on Lee as both star and fight choreographer wore him out, and he lost several pounds from his already wiry frame. During the shooting of a fight sequence, Wall accidentally injured Lee's hand with a broken bottle, requiring 12 stitches to close the wound. Chinese crewmen and extras harangued Bruce, trying to goad him into killing Wall to preserve his honor. It added another pressure on the overexerted star, who was still feuding with Warner Brothers about the film's title. The studio wanted to call it Han's Island, as they thought his title, Enter the Dragon, would not sell tickets, as it was too Chinese. Lee finally won the argument. One of the most difficult scenes to shoot was the fight sequence in the Hall of Mirrors, a dazzling display of fighting, but a nightmare to shoot without seeing either lights or cameras.
From the inscrutable Han.
Another problem was that Lee's kicks were so fast they did not register unless the cameras were speeded up to slow the action enough to be caught on film. For Lee, slowing down his kicks was not an option.
The Fury is back. Part man, part myth, part magic, and pure mayhem.
He was always driving toward perfection, striving for greater success, and pushing himself beyond the limit of physical endurance. But Bruce was injured many times during the grueling production schedule, including several severe blows to the head. Worn out and racked with pain, Bruce completed filming and took a well-deserved rest, but not for long. Still exhausted from making Enter the Dragon, he began planning to resume filming Game of Death, which he hoped would be the ultimate kung fu movie. Meanwhile, as the troubled production wrapped on Enter the Dragon, producers weren't sure what the result would be. Enter the Dragon had cost $500,000 to make, and at last count yielded more than $150 million. The spectacular success of Enter the Dragon guaranteed Lee worldwide movie superstar status. It seemed he would go on writing, directing, and starring in more movies, ever polishing his craft. Lee had hoped he would finally achieve his personal goals of introducing martial arts to a worldwide audience and becoming the first Asian international superstar. Both goals were reached, but sadly, he would not see it happen. Lee did not live to see his magnum opus reach the screen. On July 20th, 1973, just before he was scheduled to return to the United States for the premiere of Enter the Dragon, Lee had resumed work on Game of Death. While discussing script changes with producer Raymond Chow, Bruce complained of a headache and went to lie down. After Bruce failed to meet Chow for dinner, the producer returned to check on Lee, but found he could not wake him. Lee was rushed to the hospital, but he died without regaining consciousness. He was only 32 years old. Enter the Dragon went into theaters as the world mourned the loss of the new megastar. The international success of the movie only heightened the loss. Soon after his death, rumors abounded that Lee had been murdered, poisoned like the master in the Chinese Connection. Rumors also circulated that he had been ambushed by a mob and beaten to death, or shot by gangsters determined to prove that although he was an invincible fighter in hand-to-hand combat, he was vulnerable to a bullet. or that a fighting technique like that called the iron fist or the vibrating fist, delivered by a jealous rival during filming of Enter the Dragon, caused a subtle injury which slowly killed him. Marijuana and other drugs were mentioned in tabloid newspapers, which also harped on the fact he died in the bed of a glamorous actress. In Asia, it was said that Lee had courted misfortune by starting the movie Game of Death, death being an unlucky word to have in a movie title. The medical explanation is that Lee had taken painkillers to relieve the suffering caused by injuries he sustained during his last film. An allergic reaction to the painkillers produced a cerebral edema that killed him. With Enter the Dragon and other Bruce Lee movies raking in money, Hollywood looked around for another martial artist to replace Lee as Kung Fu movie king. Sonny Chiba of Japan was pitched as a possible successor in such movies as The Bodyguard. Bruce Lee's co-star in Enter the Dragon, Jim Kelly, pursued a career in martial arts blaxploitation films, such as Black Belt Joe.
Jim, Dragon, Kelly, he clubbers them out as Black Belt Joe.
One of the most successful Hollywood martial artists was Chuck Norris, Bruce Lee's opponent at the climax of The Way of the Dragon. Already the owner of a chain of martial arts schools and a teacher to the stars, Norris quickly expanded into appearing in action and adventure films. He became one of Hollywood's leading action stars. Other martial artists also made the break into cinema stardom.
Jason has a dream.
Someday I'm going to be just like him.
Steven Seagal played grim warrior in a number of action films, including Above the Law.
He's a cop. Stop the cop! With an attitude.
I just made number 4 on the most wanted list. I want to be number 1.
But the dour Seagal lacked the personal appeal that endeared Lee to his many fans. Like Norris, he appeared in other films as the villain before breaking through to hero roles. In the wake of Lee's death, filmmakers searched for new martial artists to take over his position as action superstar. Hong Kong was especially reluctant to let go of its superstar, who had represented so much pride to Asians in general, and the people of Hong Kong in particular. An embarrassing parade of Bruce lookalikes not only took over Lee's roles, but his name, or various respellings of it anyway.
A supernatural action American movie starring Bruce Lee. The dragon never died. He was just waiting for the moment when he could return from the grave to seek revenge.
Bruce Lee Fights Back from the Grave was downright morbid, with a Lee imitator portraying Bruce rising from the grave to seek vengeance on his murderers. Exit the Dragon, Enter the Tiger had an imitator playing both Bruce and a look-alike investigating his mysterious death.
Lie enters the sinister Hong Kong underworld on a fantastic mission of vengeance. There, he is met by a deadly force willing to do anything to achieve success. The tiger explodes in a fury of vengeance as he rips apart an amazing and ruthless conspiracy. A film that exposes the truth about one of the most shocking deaths of our time. Bruce Lee, in Exit the Dragon, Enter the Tiger.
Yet none of these imposters could match the original in talent or ability. Inevitably, the legend of Bruce Lee would be the subject of parody. Enter the Dragon was lampooned in a segment of Kentucky Fried Movie.
course, there are occasional moments of comic relief.
Bruce Lee imitators were mocked in They Call Me Bruce.
He walked like him. He talked like him.
Give me 5, yo, mama, get down.
He even cooked like him. His days became filled with new challenges. Eating chicken with nunchucks. Defeating criminals with a flick of his hand. And defending good against evil.
They give that man his purse back.
They call me Bruce.
Hi, Bruce.
They call me Bruce, a superhero America can believe in.
However, among all the Bruce wannabes, one promising performer who had appeared as a stuntman in The Chinese Connection and Enter the Dragon seemed to match Lee's personal appeal and athletic ability. Soon, he found himself being touted as the successor of Bruce Lee.
Hey, Batman, come on!
In a minute!
It's time!
But owing more to Buster Keaton than Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan found his own niche performing action films laced with his own particular brand of martial arts humor.
Jackie Chan.
A former performer in Chinese opera, Chan starred in dozens of Hong Kong movies and a few American films. His breakthrough to international stardom came as the result of his own blend of amazing athletic ability, mixed with slapstick comedy. But there was another heir to the throne with an even closer connection to Bruce Lee. When Brandon Lee, Bruce's son, came of age, he followed his father's example, pursuing an acting career in martial arts films. He appeared in movies in both Hollywood and Hong Kong. Like his father, Brandon was also gaining fame and fans when death struck again. During the filming of The Crow, Brandon was accidentally killed when a prop gun aimed at him turned out to be loaded with a real bullet. The tragedy added fuel to the speculation that the Lee family suffered from a curse, or that other sinister forces influenced the death of the two stars. Brandon is buried alongside his father in Seattle. Bruce Lee's death haunted moviegoers, for like his son Brandon and also James Dean, his movies continued to be released into theaters after his death, highlighting the loss of the rising star.